This video will not end until I win the Champions League with Celtic. Celtic secured their one and only Champions League title, defeating Inter Milan in Portugal in the 1966-1967 season. They also made it to a final 3 years later, but they lost that one to Dutch side Feyenoord. In recent times, Celtic's record in the competition hasn't been the best, only reaching the group stage 6 times in the last 14 years, and only making it out of the group in the 2012-2013 season. In today's video, I'll be taking charge of Celtic and will remain at the club until we get our hands on that Champions League trophy again. Diving into the first season, I'll be using the existing Celtic squad who finished bottom of Group E this season. We need a good tactic for this challenge, so I'll be rocking GYR's Thanos tactic, which is a 4-3-3 and looks like this with the best 11 in place as the season is about to start. We'll be competing in 4 competitions this season, but we're Celtic, so we're naturally odds-on favourites to win the Cinch Premiership and clean sweep the domestic cups. However, we're here to win the Champions League, but the board only wants us to be competitive in the competition this season. But given the club's recent form, I'd take finishing 3rd in our group and dropping down into the Europa League. I still feel like that would be a successful season for us in the competition in season number 1. We started the season with a comfortable run in the League Cup, advancing through to the semi-finals where we would meet Rangers. The game took place at Hampden and we opened up a quick 2-goal lead in the first half with our Japanese dynamic duo bagging the goals. Rangers did pull a goal back through a Callum McGregor own goal, but we were able to bag another 2 to win the tie 4-1 and progress into the final. We'd come up against St Johnstone in the final and they were reduced to 10 men almost instantly as Paulo Bernardo was hacked down. We'd be the favourites in this game regardless, but with the extra man we were able to demolish the Saints, running out 6-0 winners on the day. It was a similar story in the Scottish Cup as well, as we'd end up facing Rangers again at the semi-final stage. And even though it was a different competition, the result was exactly the same, with us running out 4-1 winners yet again. In the final this time we'd face Kilmarnock and we opened the scoring through Callum McGregor before Kyogo made it 2 in the second half. So we had 2 domestic cups in the bag, but what about the league? Well, that went exactly as you would expect, only dropping 13 points all season in the shape of 5 draws and just the 1 loss. Those results saw us finish the league with 101 points and win the title by 12 points, with Rangers coming in second on 89. But we're here for the Champions League, where we were drawn in Group A alongside Red Star Belgrade, Manchester United and Sevilla. And I have to say, we were outstanding in the group stage, winning 5 of our 6 games, with the only loss coming away at Old Trafford. 15 points saw us top the Group A table and qualify for the knockout stages. In the round of 16, we were drawn against RB Salzburg from Austria, who finished as runners-up in Group H behind Barcelona. We were on the road in the first leg and lost the game thanks to this far post header from Peter Radkov in the snow in Austria. But I was still thinking that we'd get the job done at Celtic Park, but Salzburg bagged 2 quick goals in the first half to make it 3-0 on aggregate. We did pull a goal back through Rio Hatate, but it was a case of too little too late and we crashed out of the competition. So we had domestic dominance but faltered a little bit on the European stage. But now I get a chance to put my stamp on this team. And to do so, we have a transfer budget of £26 million and an increase of £200,000 a week in our wage budget. This summer transfer window was up there with one of the most nuts I have seen, as 26 players left the club for a grand total of £162 million. Key outgoings were Leo Abada, who I wanted to keep at the club, but PSG waved £39.5 million in front of me, which unfortunately was too good to turn down. And Saudi Arabia came calling as well, as we sold 3 players to Al Ittihad for a combined £74 million. That war chest allowed me to go crazy in the transfer market, and we brought in 10 players for a total of £117 million. The first name on my shopping list was Brazilian shot stopper Lucas Perry, who joined from Botafogo for £10.5 million to replace Joe Hart, who has retired. We also improved in defence, signing Ano Ametlozic for his relegation release clause of £18.25 million, Destiny Udoji from Spurs, who was transfer listed for an initial £15 million, and Leopold Querfield from Rapid Vienna for £12 million. In the midfield, we picked up William Clem from FC Copenhagen for £6.5 million, Tommy Doyle from Manchester City for £21.5 million, and we brought Scott McTominay up to Scotland after being transfer listed by United for £11.5 million. And in the final third of the pitch, we signed Telles Magno from New York City FC for £17.5 million, Rooney Bargi from FC Copenhagen for his release fee of £9 million, and Gabriel Vidovic, who joined from Bayern Munich for just £5 million. We're currently sitting on a net profit of £45 million, and I feel this squad is so much better than what we had last season. However, I'm still trying to bring in more players, as I'm looking to sign Elias Gillette, another Copenhagen starlet, and Rafael Luis from Benfica. So with all these additions, the team is looking drastically different from last season, and it definitely now has that Hook Gaming stamp on it. This season, we will be playing in the same 4 competitions as last season, but I will be expecting a better performance in the Champions League with this new look side. We started the season, as always, with the League Cup, where we avoided Rangers completely this season and made it to the final easily, where we took on Aberdeen. This proved to be light work for us, as we ran out 4-0 winners, with 3 of our lads getting on the score sheet, along with an injury time own goal from Aberdeen. However, we did falter in the Scottish Cup, as we came up against Rangers in the 5th round. Rangers took the lead in the game, but Telles Magno was able to pull us level. The game remained 1-1 and went to extra time, where Rangers again took the lead, only for us to pull level, this time through Callum McGregor. That goal meant that the tie would be decided via penalty shootout, where Luis Palma saw his penalty saved by Jack Butland before Leopold Querfield rattled his penalty off the bar to see Butland push it wide and Rangers progress into the next round. However, we got our own back on them in the Cinch Premiership, as we dominated the competition yet again this year, winning the title by 25 points. This season, in the new Champions League format, we were handed some tough games, but we did manage to beat Wolfsburg, Red Star Belgrade and Genk. Those 9 points were enough to see us finish 20th in the league phase table and qualify for the knockout stages. In the knockout playoff round, we were drawn against AC Milan, and we'd be at home in the first leg. The boys really did turn up in the first leg, battling back from a goal down to win the game 4-1 and take a nice 3-goal lead over to Italy to the San Siro. In Italy, we added another goal quickly as Leopold Querfield nodded home from a corner. Milan did fight back with 2 second-half goals of their own, but it was a case of too little too late, and we advanced with a 5-3 aggregate victory. In the next round, we were handed a tough draw as we'd face 14-time champions Real Madrid. We were at home first, but Madrid took the lead through Nacho, but we were able to pull level through Amit Lozic. Real scored a second goal in the game from a corner as Eder Militao nodded them back into the lead, giving us an uphill task at the Bernabeu. And it did prove to be an uphill task, as Madrid picked up another 2-1 win to see us exit the competition at the same stage as last season. However, I feel this is a little bit more understandable than losing to RB Salzburg. Of all the new signings, it will be no surprise that Rooney Bargi was the standout performer, bagging 21 goals and 31 assists in all competitions. If you've not signed this guy in your save, just go and do it. On paper, this season doesn't look as good as last year, but I really feel that we've made some great strides forward, and we have another £20 million in the transfer budget this summer to make things even better. This summer, we were able to create another £70 million in transfer budget by shifting a few players out the door. The most expensive of these was Cameron Carter-Vickers, who joined Al Ittihad for £24 million. We also sold Telles Magno to Brighton for an initial £19 million, and Scott McTominay was unhappy with his game time here, so left to join Everton for £15 million. On the incoming side of things, we picked up Thiago Almada from Atlanta United for £8.25 million, Junior Mwanga from Strasbourg for £10 million, and then I went a little crazy and signed Jonathan David from Lille for a huge £70 million. With these additions, this is how the team is shaping up going into season number 3, and I'm hoping we can have some better luck in the Champions League knockout draws. Kicking off the Season 3 review with the League Cup, we flew through to the final, only conceding a single goal when we beat Rangers 3-1 at Ibrox in the quarters. This season we took on St Mirren, and despite hammering them for an entire 90 minutes, the breakthrough came as Cristobal Campos turned the ball into his own net whilst under pressure from Kyogo. And in the Scottish Cup, we met Rangers in the semis and completely ripped them apart at Hampden, with Jonathan David and Kyogo both bagging braces in a 5-0 win. This set up another cup final against St Mirren, but this time we were a lot more convincing, running out 3-0 winners, even with Callum McGregor seeing his penalty saved by the St Mirren keeper. And in the league, as you would expect, we strolled to yet another title, this year winning the league by 23 points. And in the Champions League, we definitely made a step up this season. In the league phase, we picked up victories against Athletic Bilbao, Dinamo Zagreb, Manchester United, Feyenoord and Benfica on our way to an 8th place finish in the table, an automatic qualification for the round of 16. This season we had a slightly better draw as we ended up pulling Atletico Madrid out of the hat. We had to travel to the Metropolitano for the first leg and we really dominated the game, racking up a 2-0 lead at half time, which we extended to a 4-goal lead at the end of 90 minutes. Back at Celtic Park, Atleti didn't really bother participating in the tie, and Tommy Doyle bagged in the second half to see us go through with a 5-0 aggregate win. This sent us into the quarter-finals, where we will face Manchester United and travel south to Old Trafford for the first leg. The game at the Theatre of Dreams had a little bit of everything that you'd expect for such a feisty encounter. 5 goals, 2 red cards, and an absolutely barnstorming match. We took the lead in the game through a Lisandro Martinez own goal before Anel Amitlozic received his marching orders for this foul. You're going to have to let me know what you think about this one because I think it's pretty harsh. With the extra man advantage, United came back into the game and rattled in 3 goals in quick succession before we were reduced to 9 men as Kyogo picked up his second for this push, and yet again I'm feeling a little bit hard done by. However, with 9 men, we did manage to score a second goal as Rio Hatate applied the finish to a nice team move to make it a 3-2 loss on the night. Back at Celtic Park for the second leg, and with a full quota of players, we were able to score twice late on to knock United out and progress to the semi-finals. The semi-finals threw up another trip south of the border, this time to take on Chelsea. And we headed to Stamford Bridge in the first leg where Chelsea took the lead through Reece James, but we were able to cancel it out quickly through Kyogo. Chelsea regained the lead as Lukaku scored from the spot, and then Chelsea followed that up with another goal from Mykhailo Mudryk. Rafael Luiz did manage to pull a goal back for us in the second half, but we were still going to have a difficult game back in Glasgow. After scoring at the Bridge, Luiz seemingly had a taste for goal as he scored early to pull us level on aggregate. We then added a second on the half-hour mark through Vidovic and looked like we'd be heading into the final, but then Neymar, of all people, latched onto a through ball after Vidovic had given the ball away to Mudryk. That goal was scored in the 91st minute and sent the game to extra time, where Reece James was on hand to fire home a cutback from Mudryk to send Chelsea to the final and us home empty-handed. Our performances this season really made me believe that we are on the cusp of something special, but we've not even made it to a Champions League final yet. Going into the summer transfer window, we have £33 million to spend, but after our performances this season, lots of our players are wanted by other clubs. I said that several players were wanted by other clubs, and this summer we sadly had to say goodbye to some favourites. First up, Anel Amitlozic joined Liverpool for an initial £32.5 million, and he was followed out the door by Kyogo, who moved to Fenerbahce for £13.25 million. And the one that caused me the most problems, Lucas Perry departed for Saudi Arabia for an initial £27 million. Those 3 players leaving added another £73 million to the transfer budget, which allowed me to go shopping. Firstly, we addressed the goalkeeper problem as we went to France to pick up Lucas Chevalier from Lille for £30 million. In defence, we added Mies Hilgers from PSV for £35 million and Clement Riedel from Dortmund for £2.8 million. Moving into the midfield, we signed Rodrigo Villagara from Talleres in Argentina for £2.5 million and Tommaso Balzini from Empoli for £27.5 million. And up top, we added German youth international Nelson Viper from Mainz for £30 million. We also dipped into the free transfer market to sign Harry Maguire following his release from Manchester United, and we splashed the cash to sign Sergej Milinkovic-Savic, who arrives following the contract ending in Saudi Arabia. Several of those signings come into our starting 11, which now looks very different from the start to the save, so let's see if the luck is with us. As always, we start with the League Cup, where we flew into the final, avoiding Rangers along the way. In the final, we came up against Hearts, who are now managed by Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, but Ole's boys took one hell of a beating in the final as we smashed them 5-0 on the way to a 4th successive trophy. And in the Scottish Cup, we advanced into the final, where we faced Rangers, who are no match for us anymore, and we comfortably blew them away, scoring 4 goals before Rangers added a consolation deep into injury time. This season, we did something remarkable in the league as we went unbeaten the whole season, only dropping 8 points. Nelson Viper seemed like a great addition as he scored 51 goals in all competitions this season, along with SMS, who scored 28 goals and provided 20 assists from midfield. But we're all here to see Celtic lift the Champions League trophy. And this season we progressed through the league phase, winning games against Dortmund, AC Milan and Porto, but losing stupidly to Wolfsburg and Fenerbahce. Regardless, we still finished 7th in the table and automatically qualified for the round of 16. The draw gods were not in our favour yet again, as we were given PSG, so I knew this wouldn't be easy. The first leg was in Paris, where PSG took the lead twice in the game through Kolo Muani and Alan Saint-Maximin. However, we were able to score 3 goals of our own, with Viper bagging a brace to sandwich a goal from original squad player and captain Callum McGregor. Back home in Scotland, we were able to extend the lead through a Lucas Hernandez own goal and another goal from Jonathan David to progress to the quarter-finals with a 5-3 aggregate win. The quarters throw up another trip to England, as this time we take on Arsenal, who are now managed by Pep Guardiola. This time the first leg was at Celtic Park and the boys came out swinging and managed to dominate a very strong Arsenal side to open up a 5-1 lead to take to the Emirates. It seemed like we had unearthed a little bit of a monster, as Arsenal were brilliant in the second leg, but Nelson Viper cancelled out Gabriel Jesus' opener with our only shot on target before Eric Garcia added a second for Arsenal. Sadly for Pep, this wasn't enough and we moved into the semis with a 6-3 aggregate win. In the semis, we avoided Barcelona but did manage to get drawn against Bayern Munich. We were at home in the first leg and SMS fired us into the lead on the stroke of half time. Minutes later, we latched onto a mistake by the Bayern defence to set up Thiago Almada, who lashed home from the edge of the penalty area. However, in the same minute, Harry Kane was able to bag a goal for Bayern, giving them a way back into the game. But on the road, we didn't let Bayern back into the game. In fact, we battered them in Munich, scoring 4 unanswered goals to progress with a 6-1 aggregate win. So this set up the big one, the club's first Champions League final in a long time, and we would take on Barcelona. Despite constant pressure from us in the first half, it was Barcelona who struck first through Fabian, giving the Catalan side the lead at half-time. However, the boys really rallied in the second half and scored 3 goals in quick succession to see us fired into the lead. Galeno did score again for Barcelona, but this was in the 94th minute and we were able to hold on and went on to lift the Champions League trophy, bringing this challenge to a close. And if you want the save files from this so you can carry on the journey, they are over on my Patreon right now. And if you like this sort of challenge content on FM24, check out this video. It's where I try and do a whole season unbeaten with Arsenal.